Hello, good morning 7th grade students of SMPK Penabur Jakarta. We meet again through this online learning, and today we are going to discuss about plants kingdom or plants diversity, and especially from today's video we are going to look at the first group of plants kingdom, which is Bryophytes. Well, without any longer, let's take a look and discuss together about today's topic. These are two learning objectives that we want to achieve from today's session and several weeks ahead. The first objective is you are able to understand and describe the characteristics of each group in plants kingdom. The second objectives, you are able to explain some roles or benefits of plants to the ecosystem or even in human life. Before we continue to learn some of the plants groups in plants kingdom, let's remember the characteristics of plants itself. The first one, plants are multicellular organisms. Their body consists of many cells. The second characteristic of plants is their cells are an eukaryotic cell. The third characteristic of plants, they are autotroph organisms. They can make their own food by the process of photosynthesis. And the last characteristic of plant kingdom, when we talk about their cell, then their cell wall are made of cellulose. It is one of good fiber for our diet. Next is several things that plants need to survive. They need sunlight. They gather sunlight for photosynthesis. They need water and minerals. They need gas exchange. Plants must exchange gases, oxygen and carbon dioxide, to perform respiration and photosynthesis. And the last one is they need a certain movement mechanism of water and nutrients so they can do photosynthesis, because water and minerals are being taken by their roots, but the food production process occurs in their leaves. Here are the diagram that describe about plant classification. All plants can be divided into two major groups. The first one is non-vascular plants. This group consists of any plants that do not have vascular tissues, such as xylem and phloem. Meanwhile, the second group of plants is vascular plants. This group contains of any plants that contain or possess xylem and phloem as the vascular tissue. The vascular group itself can be divided into another two major groups, which is gymnosperm and angiosperm. Gymnosperm is the open seed plants. Meanwhile, angiosperm, we know it as flowering plants. The angiosperms later will be divided again into two other groups, monocot and also dicot. But for today's video, we are going to talk only about non-vascular plants. Non-vascular plants contain only one group of bryophytes or It is better known as mosses. Have you ever seen this greenish carpet-like structure in your house or around your house? Maybe in your roof, maybe in your wall, and other humid places around your house. Yes, if you have seen them, you have seen the bryophytes or the mosses. Bryophytes derive from Greek word bryon, which means a moss. Roots, stems, and leaves cannot be clearly differentiated. They do not have a transporting tissue such as xylem and phloem, but it does has chlorophyll for photosynthesis. Their habitat are in unique places. Mosses are known as pioneer plants because of their ability to live in rough, barren areas that more complex plants cannot survive in. Here you can see some pictures that describe to us about several species or types of bryophytes. And as you can see from the second picture, for example, they form a green carpet-like structure in some substrate, in some rocks with high humidity. Now let's talk about shapes and sizes of bryophytes. Their height are ranging from 1 until 2 centimeters. There are two common shapes of moss, the thalloid and foliose. The thalloid will be common in the more primitive groups of bryophytes, meanwhile the foliose shape will be common to the more advanced group of bryophytes. Even though they are simple plants, chloroplasts are still exist in the entire part of organism. As you have known before, chloroplasts are an organelle in plant cell that contain chlorophyll, a pigment for photosynthesis. Water and mineral absorption done through diffusion. Remember that they are lack of vascular tissues. Let's talk about their reproductive system. Bryophytes are having the alternation between two stages in its life cycle, the gametophyte and sporophyte. It is known as metagenesis. Here you can see a picture that describes to us lower and upper part. The lower part contain of gametophyte generation or generation that are producing sex cells, consists of two types of sex cells or reproductive cells. The first one is male reproductive cells and the second one is female reproductive cells. Meanwhile, the upper part of this diagram describes to us about the sporophyte generation, then generation that are producing spores or perform a sexual mechanism of reproduction. Here you can see the existence of sporophyte and also gametophyte in one individual plant. And here you can see a photo also described to us a taller structure, which is sporophyte structure, and a lower structure which described to us a gametophyte generation or gametophyte structure. Here you can see another diagram that shows to us about the alternation or the metagenesis of Bryophytes. In the right side, you can see the sporophyte generation or sporophyte structure. Sporophyte will produce sporanium, which contains spores, and spores will spread out and grow as gametophyte generation or gametophyte structure. And in the left side of the diagram, you can see about the gametophyte generation, which consists of the red structure or male structure and the blue structure or female gametophyte. Please take note that gametophyte generation in bryophytes are more dominant than the sporophyte generations. Next, let us learn about the classification of bryophytes. Bryophytes can be divided into three major groups. The first one is mosses or Bryopsida. The second one is liverworts or Hepaticopsida. And the last one is hornworts or Anthoceropsida. Bryopsida has the most similar morphology to vascular plants. They have foliose shape. It comprises with the largest number of species, about 10,000 species of bryophytes. They grow mostly in an environment with high humidity, and their sporophyte size is smaller than any other group of bryophytes. Here you can see some example of Bryopsida. Next is Hepaticopsida. Its leaf-like morphology divided into two lobes, like a heart shape. They are having elaters, cells that help spread spores in sporophyte stage. And they have another asexual reproduction mechanism, which is done by gametes. If you see here in the picture, you can see a cup-like structure on the thalloid surfaces, which is called as gametes. The most known example of Hepaticopsida is Marchantia polymorpha. Next is Anthoceropsida or hornworts. Their gametophyte are the same shape with liverworts, but it has an elongated sporonium like a horn, as you can see in the picture. Each cell has a single big chloroplast. And the examples of species from the Anthoceropsida group are Anthoceros levis and Notoceros enigmaticus. Last is about roles and benefits of bryophytes. In the ecosystem, bryophytes role as first, oxygen providers, second, water storing plants, and third one is pollutant absorbent. Meanwhile, bryophytes also produce several benefits for humans, such as Marchantia polymorpha, which can be used as herbs for hepatic patients. Sphagnum sp can be used as a substitute for cotton, and some species can be processed for skin and eyes medication. You can discuss the rest materials about bryophytes with your teachers. That's all for today's video. Thank you, see you next time, and God bless you.